So today we're going to be talking about how to build yourself a good streaming system. क्योंकि हर कोई जो YouTube देखता है समझता है कि ये काम बहुत आसान है, स्ट्रीमिंग बहुत आसान है, YouTube बहुत आसान है, लेकिन नो, ऐसा नहीं है. It's actually a difficult job. Starting off with the specs itself. So stay tuned, watch the entire video to find out what kind of system you should be building for your next streaming PC. Okay, so first things first, starting off with the hardware that you'll need. Now, hardware ki had tak, when you think about hardware for streaming, so you should be thinking about a powerful CPU, also a good GPU with NVMe support. That's super simplifying things. Now let's get more specific, starting off with the processor. Now for the processor, you should be looking at a 6 to 8 core wala processor, because if you're using a software which is utilizing your CPU cores to do the encoding for the video bit, you'll actually need those extra cores. So at least 5600X pakad lo ya 5800X pakad lo. So next up, video card. So your video card is actually going to decide, rather limit you to the games which it can run in high quality. For example, if you're going for a game kind of like Among Us, you probably don't need a high-end graphic card. If you're looking at all AAA titles, सब कुछ 1080p या 2K resolution में आपको stream करना है, you probably need a good graphic card to do that. Also, better graphic cards from NVIDIA, RTX cards, have NVMe encoder, which actually helps in encoding your video. A lot of softwares also use that. So it always makes sense to go for a good graphic card. So next up, RAM. You should be actually looking at 16 plus GB at least, because that will also help you in your editing workloads. Also, it will help when you're running multiple applications at the same time. So yeah, RAM will help you out even for your video editing portions. And finally, before we close the hardware portion of this video, you probably need a good fast SSD to do your loading, installing your games, Windows, etc. So that will help. अब ये सब हार्डवेयर के अलावा और भी हार्डवेयर लगेगा आपको, माइक, कैमरा, कीबोर्ड, माउस, सेकेंडरी मॉनिटर इफ यू वांट टू रीड योर चैट्स. बस हाँ, ये हो गया हार्डवेयर पोर्शन. बट बात हार्डवेयर पे खत्म नहीं होती है, especially when you're streaming. So the biggest question that we get asked all the time is, do you need a secondary system to do streaming? The answer is maybe. Now we say maybe because a lot of pro streamers actually use a second system to do the streaming portion. Now a lot of them could also be using a capture card to do their streaming effectively with minimal FPS drop. Lekin, if you're actually gunning for a very high resolution and you're noticing that you're having frame drops while streaming your games, it probably makes sense to offload the video encoding work on a secondary system. Now that secondary system should probably CPU heavy, maybe doesn't need a very heavy graphic card. It should be CPU focused system जिसमें ज़्यादा cores है and it's able to effectively encode your stream and upload it. Also, a secondary system helps जब आप console stream कर रहे हो, basically PS5 की stream लगाने चाह रहे हो. So that's going to help you out over there as well. So secondary system is not needed for everybody, especially if you're a beginner. You can probably stream at a 720p or 1080p resolution and just go for it. And as you gain traction, it makes sense to go for that second system. So the final piece of the puzzle for any streamer is obviously the software. Now software में क्या आता है? Basically तीन अच्छे software हैं, OBS or Streamlabs by OBS or XSplit. So your mileage may vary with the different softwares. Some people like Streamlabs and some people like XSplit. Personally, I feel XSplit थोड़ा easy to use है, easy to set up है. Once you get the hang of it, actually moving to OBS also becomes easier. So yeah, it depends. There are a lot of guides out there. कई सारे videos हैं जिसमें सही बताते हैं कि how to set up the secondary source, audio वगैरह वगैरह वगैरह. There are a whole lot of explainer videos to get on board and get started. So yes, choose that software which makes you comfortable and just go for it. So finally, the last step and the most crucial one, जो कई सारे लोग बहुत सारा पैसा खर्चा करके नहीं करते हैं, actually streaming. Now what makes a good streamer? तुम लोग हंस के पूरा वो बदल दिया. So a few suggestions from my side and our side is actually be original. Don't try to copy somebody. Don't try to imitate their style. People watch streamers because they are original and they are engaging because they are original. I mean, आप किसी को copy कर लोगे, कैरी मिनट की तरह दो गाली ले लोगे तो ऐसा नहीं चलने वाला है. You actually need to be engaging, talking with the audience, have your own style. As you stream, you'll discover it. So yeah, stream. Just start. इतना महंगा हार्डवेयर खरीद के कोने में रखने धूल चढ़ाने से कुछ नहीं होने वाला. Start doing it. Next up, choose your game very carefully. Choose it carefully because nobody wants to watch another GTA 5 RP stream. सबको नहीं देखना है, मतलब हर कोई वही कर रहा है, और मतलब अमंग अस 10,000 लोग कर रहे हैं, आप 10,000 में एक पर्सन हो. अगेन दैट डजंट मेक सेंस. चूज योर गेम्स वेरी केयरफुली. इफ यू लुक एट अ होल लॉट ऑफ स्ट्रीमर्स, कई सारे स्ट्रीमर्स ने पर्टिकुलर नीश में स्ट्रीमिंग करके अपना नाम बनाया है. इफ यू लुक एट मार्की प्लेयर और इवन हमारे क्या था उसका नाम, प्यूडीपाई. शिट, हाउ कैन आई फॉरगेट सॉरी, बाथटब स्ट्रीमिंग मत करो ब्रो, उसके लिए इतना हार्डवेयर नहीं चाहिए. बाथटब स्ट्रीमिंग, fucking asshole. Next suggestion from our side would be, do not stress about playing well. Half the time people who watch a stream aren't there to watch how well you're playing. It's to watch your reaction to that gameplay thing that's happening, or to watch how you're dealing with a situation in that particular thing. So chill ho jao. It's not about being the next crowd. It's about being an entertaining place where people can come and chill out and watch you. So yeah, and finally, just be regular. Yeah.
But if you want good hardware,
Oh yes, I keep forgetting our plugin. So if you want good hardware, you can actually get in touch with us, the MVP.in. We happen to ship builds nationally over 75 plus cities, and many streamers have already bought from us. We don't like to flex, but yeah, it's true. बस हो गया ना, ये plugin काफ़ी है इतना. So yeah, reach out for your build today. Limited time offer. Thank you for watching.
To move to the testing part, the first thing we do. मैं यहाँ बात कर रहा हूँ शायद. हेलो. Windows memory diagnostic. Is the test. दे रहे भाई वो. हाँ तो मैं पढ़ के वापस देता रे. मैं पढ़ के वापस देता हूँ, बोल रहा हूँ तेरे को. पढ़ा ही नहीं रहे मैं कुछ भी. हाँ देता रे भाई. हाँ देता रे भाई मैं.